So on Friday, Gilbert Arenas made the claim on his show Gil's Arena that Stephen Curry was not a generational talent, and here is the full quote. Steph is not a generational talent. Wemby is a generational person. Generational means you can't mimic it. Can you mimic Magic Johnson, a 6'9" point guard with the vision? No, you can't mimic Shaquille O'Neal's body. You can't mimic LeBron James. You can't mimic Wemby. Those are generational. They come around once every few decades. So I want to know, do you think Steph Curry is a generational talent? And also, what's your reaction to Gilbert Arenas' comments?
This is another Gilbert Arenas comment that he put out there, hoping everybody like us would be very critical of it and talk about it, so it gives him some publicity. That's how I view it. I think it's a crazy comment. Steph Curry is a generational player. He changed the game of basketball in terms of the three. He made the three a different weapon and a different style of play that favored the three over, a slam dunk. People got more excited about seeing him hit a three from way behind the arc than watching any other big player take a massive dunk. And so I think that the Steph is definitely a generational player, and because he was able to change the game of basketball. And to me, that's generational. The other thing I'd say, it's not about physicality. I mean, he talked about only a player with once-in-a-lifetime physical traits can be considered a generational talent. He mentioned some of those players. Wemby, Shaq, LeBron are generational talents. Magic, it only happens once every 20 years or so. There's a lot of people that have had physical talent or physical gifts, and they weren't able to do anything generational. Look at Tom Brady as an example, right? He definitely doesn't have the physical traits of a generational player. He's the best player that ever played football, in professional football. He did it with his head, with his mind, his arm. It wasn't all about his physical traits. He's considered the best player ever to play the game. It wasn't about his physical traits.
Right.
So I think it's crazy. I don't agree with Gilbert at all on this.
Well, I think this is where maybe Gilbert Arenas' mind gets lost in its own translation. Last time I checked, becoming 6'9" or 7'3" is not a talent. Can you grow? If I work out, can I grow 7 inches? I don't think so. So maybe it's because he even described it as a freak of nature. That's what he said, that one has to be a freak of nature to be viewed as a generational talent. Take talent out, because talent is skill. Talent is something you work on. Sometimes talent is something you're born with and discover it. But for sure, talent is not growing 7 inches. In that case, Yao Ming should lead everybody. Manute Bol should be above everybody because they were 7'6" and 7'7". But no, that's not talent. You have to actually perform very well. You're 100% right. Stephen Curry changed the game of basketball. You have kids in 6th grade shooting three-pointers. When I was in camps at 6th grade, I was doing layup lines, not shooting threes. Hell, I wasn't even supposed to be shooting jump shots. I was doing left-hand dribble, right-hand dribble, crossover, and layups. That's all I learned at 6th grade. I played AAU for a couple years. That's also all we did. Now you got guys in 5th and 6th grade, and their coach to teach them how to shoot threes, how to play well. That's because of Steph Curry. Caitlin Clark, WNBA player and college superstar, has a little bit of Steph Curry to her. Very, very popular. The most popular WNBA player and female college athlete, arguably, currently. Probably definitely in WNBA and college, women's college basketball at the time. But Steph Curry revolutionized not just the NBA, but basketball as a sport. What also is fascinating is that because he used the term talent when talking about, like you said, Magic's 6'9" point guard, Stephen Curry's about 6'2", 185. He called that average talent. Average talent for Stephen Curry.
Yeah.
I don't think that's fair in any realm of possibility. And also, he brings up 6'9" point guard with the vision. LeBron James could play any position, same as Magic. LeBron James has more assists than Magic Johnson. And I think if we're talking about pure point guard, you could put Stockton on the list of who's better. Now, Magic probably has the better overall career due to the fact scoring, rebounds, assist, all of that. But if we're talking about true point guard who could pass the ball to the open guy, get the assist, I think John Stockton has 3,000 more assists than anyone else in NBA history. I'm not saying Stockton's better. All I'm saying is that if we want to replicate stuff. Also, he didn't put Michael Jordan on this list. He didn't put, he said Giannis is tweaking, so I guess he's close. Jokić is not on the list. Larry Bird's not on the list, even though he really, when the NBA three-point line got introduced, Larry Bird, he won Rookie of the Year because he was shooting 40% from three his rookie year. So this is, again, this is definitely, it's close. I mean, is this worse than his Jokić take? I think
right
it's
up there.
Very, very close.
It's very close. It's in the similar vein for sure. He says Curry's game can be mimicked by one or more of the following generations. Oh yeah, you think anybody in the following generation is going to beat Steph Curry's number
Trae Young can't shoot
of threes?
Right.
We saw him set the record for threes.
Correct. We were at the game.
We were at that game, and I don't think that record's going to be broken anytime soon because Steph Curry is still playing, and he's going to play for many more years.
A season? Who's making? Even in Davidson, he was averaging 25 points a game. He was fourth in three-point percentage in the entirety of college basketball.
Don't you think anybody who's really a generational talent would how many of them would have the moniker "baby-faced assassin"?
None of them.
None of them.
None of them.
That's a generational talent. Baby-faced assassin.
Yeah.
Nobody else is going to come up with something like that unless you're a generational talent, and he is.
So Arenas
will
believes
always
there's
be
only 5
considered.
or 6 generational talents in history. He already said Victor Wembanyama, Magic Johnson, Shaq, LeBron James.
He didn't put Bill Russell in there.
He didn't put Bill Russell.
He didn't put Will Chamberlain in there. Jerry West.
Larry Bird, Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan.
Kobe Bryant.
Kobe Bryant, yeah.
Well, and that, honestly, if we're using his definition, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, because Kobe was probably the closest thing to Michael Jordan. Kobe mimicked his game after Jordan very, very closely. So when you talk about mimicking, and also, I think if you were to look up to a player, a lot of these players, they say they look up and they model their game after X player. So if that's the case, then do we have to knock out? Let's say someone models their game after Magic Johnson. Do we have to knock Magic off based on the definition because you can't mimic it? They're trying to. Seriously, who is shooting at the volume and the efficiency Steph Curry's shooting at from three? Nobody. It's unheard of.
Yeah.
It's really unheard of. So this is just, it's an interesting take when it comes to the fact that he's not using the correct word. Being 6'9" or 7'3" is not talent. If you talk about no one can drive down the lane like LeBron James, that's fair. If you say no one could shoot, no one has the generational talent of Kareem's skyhook. No one can mimic that skyhook with the same, same efficiency as Kareem.
He didn't put Kareem on the list.
I would, but like something like that would be talent. No one could shoot with the volume and the efficiency of Steph Curry from three. That would make sense. But to say that a guy can't be a generational talent because he's 6'2", 185, and you're comparing him to Magic Johnson, who's 6'9" and is a point guard with a vision, LeBron James. He plays every position. He's 6'9" and has more assists than Magic. Magic just has more rings, by I think 1. So, I mean, how technical you want to get on this? Because
I just think that I don't think he
body,
put
correct. No one is as dominant. No one is or could be maybe as dominant as Shaq was in the late 1990s and early 2000s. I'll give him that. He's 350 pounds at 7'1".
No, I think Shaq's a generational talent, but it's not just because of his physical skills.
Absolutely.
It's his head too. It's his mental part of it. That plays a big role, and there are a lot of players that don't have all the physical traits that Gilbert Arenas is outlining here, and I think they're generational talents. I would put Tom Brady in that category, and I would put Steph Curry in that category for sure. Larry Bird as well. Larry Bird would say he wasn't a physical specimen.
No.
But he was a generational talent.
Michael Jordan, who can jump high and fly as long as Michael Jordan can.
He definitely had the physical skills.
Absolutely. But if we're talking about pure talent, he's been retired for 20 years. He's still in the greatest of all time conversation. And there are a lot of people who strongly believe that Jordan is still the greatest of all time. Even though LeBron's breaking every record known to man.
I'm one of those.
You're one of them, yes.
Yeah. Six rings, man.
6 rings. He went 6-0, 2 3-peats. And if we're being honest, could he have gone from when that first 3-peat started to the last dance? Could he have won every single finals? It would have been extremely difficult. But just look at the road. He never made it to a Game 7. In the NBA fight, he never made it to a Game 7.
No.
So I think that this is just, he's using the wrong word here. Because he's bringing in legitimate talent with size. Size is not a part of talent. And on top of that, calling Curry average talent, that kind of just kills your argument. Because you could say Muggsy Bogues would have been...
How can somebody be an average talent when they've broken the record for three-point shots in the three-pointers made in the NBA?
Not only that, changed the way the game is played. And also, if we're using that logic, Muggsy Bogues should be on this list. A 5'3" starting point guard. That has to show you something.
Yeah. You're
talking about the size, 6'9", and Shaq's body and all that. Victor Wembanyama. Muggsy Bogues. I think it's
a little early to call Wemby a generational talent, I think. He's only played 1 year in the NBA.
But he played extremely well in that first year. Now, it could all fall apart. Injuries, just poor play, whatnot.
I also think a generational talent is somebody who shows they can do it over an extended period of time.
Correct. Consistency.
Yeah, consistency over a career.
Yes.
That's when you determine when someone's generational and whether they had an impact on how the game is played.
If we're doing cross sports as well, Mahomes is a part of that list.
Yeah. Yeah.
Aaron Judge is a part of that list. Shohei Ohtani, Mike Trout. Those are generational talents. It's not that they come once every 20 years, because in that case, I mean, Magic Johnson, yeah, he came...
Ted Williams. Ted Williams. How about Babe Ruth? Did he look like a physical specimen? Man, the guy had a big gut on him.
Well, I'll also say it's not. It hasn't hit the 20-year period.
700 home runs.
If we're using that logic, also, it hasn't been 20 years since LeBron came into the NBA and Wemby showed up. It's been about, I think, 17.
Yeah.
Was he got drafted? Actually, no. Yeah, no, it has been 20 years. He got drafted in 2003, if I'm not mistaken. I think LeBron was drafted in 2003. Same with LeBron,
I agree, is a generational talent, but he's not the only one that's happened in the last 20 years. Steph Curry is a generational talent.
100%. 1,000%.
Yeah.
There are more than I'm sure like Giannis could be as well.
I think you're right. I think Giannis is one you could put in that league.
Luka Doncic is a generational talent. The dude is dropping 33 points a game against the #1 defense and embarrassing them. Dropped 33, then what? It was 36, I believe. Generational talent. How many game winners, how many soul crushers has he had? He was shooting threes from the logo in Game 5.
Yeah. I don't think Gilbert Arenas put much thought into this when he came up with this.
He's using the wrong word.
He's just shooting from his hip. He's shooting from his lip. He's shooting from his lip.
He's using the wrong word. It's not talent, because you can't incorporate height and size into being talented. Because unless you eat so much that you become extremely overweight and be 350 pounds, and you could work on that. And I guess if you get titanium rods in your legs, you can go maybe 2 inches taller. But to be 7'3", that's not talent. That's just genetics.
Yeah.
Talent is something you work on, you perfect. Now, could you be predisposed to being athletic? Sure. But you have to work on your craft for it to be a talent.
You got to be smart. You got to have a...
That also is talent
have
as well.
the IQ.
Absolutely.
It's a combination of things. It's not just physical traits.
I would 100% agree with that. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, if you want to check out the full episode, make sure you click the I in the top right-hand corner right now. If you want to listen to this show anywhere you go, make sure you go to anchor.fm/The Harvey Hour or anywhere you get your podcasts.